waiting to see that. Cool. See recording. First and foremost, thank you everyone for hanging out here tonight. So excited here to talk about this weird, wonderful, crazy thing that I've kind of built out. I do truly believe that we're in a moment now here, especially with AI, that it's all of our responsibility to just share what we're doing, what we're trying, what we're pushing forward. This is a new, strange place. Nobody knows what we're doing. So any advice that I give you tonight, tomorrow, I'm more than happy to blow it all up, especially if there's a new and better way. And I think just being adaptable and being open to change is really healthy here. As Power BI developers, now kind of Fabric developers too, the constant is change. A new monthly release, new weekly drop. Like, what are all these crazy things that keep coming? I truly believe here, just finding 5 or 10, 15 minutes of your day, just play around, find the parts you enjoy, carry those forward to the next day. The parts are like, yeah, that's not really for me, just leave them behind too. Don't really have to worry about if you don't have true enjoyment there. One thing I'm going to do is share sound. I'm going to start out with a crazy video that I also made to kind of set a little bit of context for us. Kevin, if you can let me know that you hear sound. If you don't, just let me know. Let me go ahead and unmute it. Awesome. Whoop.
Sounds coming through.
It starts the same way every time. A messy whiteboard. And a simple question. What can we build with Fabric? But what if you didn't need to know Fabric? Just what your business needs to solve. What if, after a few prompts, the whole solution was mapped, items deployed, and everyone could see how the pieces connect? So you can start building and stop guessing. With the Fabric Task Flows Assistant, you describe the problem, and the Fabric Advisor walks you from discovery to design to a CI/CD ready deployment in a matter of minutes. Less guessing, more building. Explore it at github.com.
All right, I'm hoping that you're including the instructions on how to make these videos with AI too, because
I know, right? So if anyone was wondering, I did ask it to do like a Blade Runner type of like emotion and feeling. So it was very funny when it kind of got it right. The part here, I'm going to say it out loud. Like if no one has ever said it before, I'm saying it right now. Fabric is hard. There's a lot of options. It's overwhelming when you first get in and you're just like, oh my gosh, where do I even start? It's this thing versus that thing. There's multiple options here for data ingestion. Fabric is hard. What if it wasn't? What if it was as easy as kind of what we saw in the video of, here's my problem. I don't know your words. I don't know your translytical and what that means. Here's my business problem. Walk me through and help me build out a solution. That's what I built. So when we are in the session today, I want you to be in that mindset. And we're going to go through a live demo. We're going to jump through here. So another area, like if you're doing a lot of presentations or talking with your colleagues, what I use is a thing called MARP. So this is Markdown as a presentation. This is just a text file that's rendered as a PowerPoint. So if you're like, hey, I'm doing a lot of projects, but I don't necessarily want to spend all my time in PowerPoint, build a MARP. Everything that you're going to look at here from this perspective is going to be a presentation as Markdown. So we talk about the problem space, why this project exists, right? Fabric has a lot of choices. It's difficult to know which ones to pick. It would be great if I could just go type in my business problem and have it spit that back out. So a scenario that I think a lot of us have probably been in, especially if you're like an architect or if you're in an internal department, you're really trying to set out the plan. You sit down, you say, here's a whiteboard, you just start scribbling all over it. You start going through a long list of choices. You're like, well, this is GA, this is public preview, this supports Python, this one doesn't, this one has SQL only. You're like, well, what do we even deploy these as? Thinking like baking a cake, right? What is your layering? And then just well, it depends. I know we always like making fun of that in the community. I don't think it does depend. I think that there's very clear paths to kind of getting you there. So of course you get done with your 60-minute meeting, you forget a few things, then you come back and you send an email, then that email takes a few days to respond to. You're like 3 or 4 days removed at this point, and you're like, I don't even remember what we're building anymore. I have a screenshot on my mobile phone of the whiteboard, but we didn't really have like a good transition plan to making that a true reality. So I really love this kind of this framing here of this tedious part. So if you are not familiar with kind of command lines, this can be done in Visual Studio Code as well. You could even deploy it as a bot if you wanted to kind of place it as an application. But if you've never seen kind of the GitHub Copilot before, it's as simple as going out here and typing in Copilot. This will now spin up my repository here, just my local folder of C:\git, task flows. This will have all my instructions, a few of my skills, and then just some of the other assets that are needed here to kind of run this system. All right, so this is just kind of getting queued up here in one moment. Let it do its thing. And then what we're going to do is we're going to type in a business problem. So if anyone here wants to type it in the chat, or I can have you come off mute, I have no idea what's going to happen, but we're going to do it together. So I have my agent and I have my Fabric advisor. Pound cake. I love that, Jen. What's a business problem someone's currently dealing with right now in a project? You don't say any specifics. You can give me vagueness too if you just want to come up with a wild scenario off the top of your head. Raise your hand, come off mute, whatever works. I'm taking open request. Everyone's afraid. Oh my gosh, Kevin. I work in a utility company, and we have a lot of antiquated processes with pen and paper. Whenever we have an outage, all our analysts start refreshing their Power BI reports constantly, and it destroys our capacity. What else in this scenario?
And I want all my data to live in Excel.
Oh gosh.
You don't have to do that.
No, we have a lot of spreadsheets too. We like to have
enough spreadsheets. That's the problem.
To maintain the data while still getting information from it that is meaningful. And don't worry about my misspellings. That's robots fix that. We are data rich and insight poor. We need mobile access, and we do have sensors on the machines. So it would be great if we also had a real-time feed of this information, so there was less refreshing and more instant insights. If we lack of lineage and visibility into definitions, no ownership to ask for help. We lack lineage of our assets and visibility into definitions. We would want one central, what is a good word? Central, I don't want to say the word. Central item that can maintain our consistency. Right now, to be honest though, if you told my CEO that they could chat with a robot, they would cut a massive check and green light this project. Whew.
And then lastly, our customer experience executive wants our customers to be able to see the data live as well.
Our customers to be able to see the data live through interactive experiences. Awesome. The working utility company, antiquated processes, pen and paper. When we have an outage, all right, I'll start refreshing. All right, we have a lot of spreadsheets too, like this, in our place to maintain data. Data rich, insight poor, need mobile access, sensors on the machines. It'd be great if we also did real time. All right, so before I hit enter, what are you thinking here? In your mind as the professional who's like, I know all of this crazy stuff in Fabric because I've read every article, I've read every Learn Doc, I've watched every video. What are you thinking already? I'm like, all right, real time. So they've got sensors. So I'm probably thinking like a real time feed, right? What else?
Yeah.
What's going on, Jack?
So you've developed a narrative. Could it also be done in sort of a bullet list of saying, here are a list of my problems and kind of call it out that way?
Absolutely. I don't want to be in the space where you have to know Fabric's terminology. I would love for you to come with those type of details, Jack. Here are the things I'm trying to solve, based on a bolded list, based on a problem statement, because you and me are sitting at a table together. Hey, what problems are we trying to solve? Here's a lot of the issues that we currently have. Awesome. As a professional, of course, I can sit here and ask you a few more follow-ups. But if I didn't capture all the details, then my robot will start doing it for us. I think we've got a pretty good one here. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go and press enter. And we'll start letting it do its thing. All right, what do we got here? Oh, what is he yelling at me about? Agent. Oh, hold on. I know why. Let's do this. Agent, Fabric Advisor. Boop. There we go. And let me go up here. So I've got my agent activated now. Awesome. So it's going to take my problem statement. It's going to start working on it. So it's going to say, all right, based on all this information you gave me, let's see what we can start figuring out. Got to go back to the presentation for just a quick second. We'll come back in a moment. Why this exists. Architecture choices are inconsistent. I may have been like, you know what, real time, we could probably do like a pipeline. We could probably just set it up like every 5 minutes, against that sensor data. And hopefully we capture enough in that window, kind of making it meaningful. I know Kevin was throwing in the loop here. He's like, we want real-time data off that spreadsheet. And I was like, you know what, maybe we could through like the mirroring of Excel files, SharePoint lists and all these different things. Maybe we could get there. But again, was there a keyword that I might have missed? As we go through the handoff process, what you heard, because you were in the meeting, and what I didn't hear because I wasn't there, and the transcript, we forgot to hit record, and they said something really meaningful, but I forgot to write it down. All those little details that kind of get dropped in transit. And then of course here, it's that urgency of like, well, we need these things. All right, do you need that first? What is the proper order that we need to deploy to get you to that CEO who wants the chatbot? I can't just throw the chatbot on top of the dirty data and expect all these great things to happen all at once. So let's go back here. It's already asking us, what should we call this project? Jack, what are you thinking here? Grid Pulse, Volt IQ, Outage Brain. What would be a good name?
I like Volt IQ.
Volt IQ? I like that. This IQ term it's catching on. Let's go and do Volt IQ. Cool.
I was thinking more Transformers, but
I'll start tweaking the bot for that one then. Usually say real time, but mean near real time. Absolutely, Dean. Fully agree with her too. Sometimes it's the words, right? Like asking follow-up questions, and we'll start seeing that here, especially as the bot starts mapping things out. Thinking for a quick second, working on it, and then it'll start filling in a couple of my V's that I'm really kind of looking for. The 4 V's, and if we have a slide here in just one moment. All right. The project itself, plain language, business problems. What we're going to get is one human readable project brief. And then also we're going to have a CI/CD ready deploy package. So at the very end of this, I will give all of the items ready for you to deploy right now. So we're not talking about it, we're actually deploying it. I'll have comments at the very end of the session of like, well, where do I think this thing could go? And my ideas are they're very interesting. When we talk about this project itself, it's got one orchestrator. This is my Fabric Advisor. So this is going to be kind of my mission control. So if you see that terminology out in kind of AI projects, it's communication back to a central location. So in this example, my Fabric Advisor will start kicking things off within a linear pipeline. So much like stages, much like a warehouse assembly, right? This thing has to happen to move to the next thing, to move to the next thing, to move to the next thing. A lot of this is going to be done through deterministic processes. So anyone who's like, I don't like AI, it messes up too much, or it tends to fable and lie. And it's like, well, if I tell 1 + 1 and it gives me back 2, and I say that's wrong, it's 3, and it's like, you're right, it's 3. Those are the things you can avoid with code. So the code I'm having to execute is just a Python script. So in code, 1 + 1 will always equal 2. Always equal 2. That is my return type. If I go over here to kind of my pipeline now, what I'm having it do is it's building out our Volt IQ. It's going through this pipeline where it's saying, at this stage, I need to do this thing. So what this does then is my Python script is iterating and just continues to loop through this JSON file to say, have I completed this task yet? If not, then I cannot proceed. If I have, then I'll move on to the next task, the next task, the next task. I'm getting deterministic results because I built the framework, I built the system, and I can get things back that I'm actually looking for every single time. All right, so it's now asking these follow-up questions that I would have asked myself. How much data are we actually talking about? I know you said real time, but like this would actually be a lot more helpful. I think, Dean, you had kind of said, they're never really quite sure what it actually means. What are we going here for, Dean? Small, medium, or large? What's the volume? Type it in the chat, coming off mute. Medium, I love it. All right, so hundreds of sensors. We've gotten multiple source systems. So we're starting to fill in some of these details. Cool. All right. There it is. My 4 V's. Velocity, variety, versatility, and volume. So we're now going to get this 4 V's filled out. So velocity is what is the speed of the data. Variety is what are the different types of data sources. Versatility is what kind of employees do you have? Are they low code? Are they code first? Are they AI agentic first? I want to know that skill set. So that way I can place them into the right tooling. All right, cool. So it's got a few different things here that is kind of returning back for us. All right, that's pretty interesting. Let's take a look at our report. So discovery review for Volt IQ, problem utility company with pen and paper processes, analysts destroying capacity. Oh, that's funny. Spreadsheets everywhere, sensors on machines, mobile access needed. CEO wants to chat with AI. Customers want live interactive data. That's what we said. Our 4 V's assessment, the volume, about 1 to 50 gigabytes a day, hundreds of sensors, multiple source systems. Real-time streaming. So we did mention that the machines emit data. They're kind of out in this utility field. Batch. We do have some batch loading that we need to do as well. So spreadsheets, kind of some manual forms. Again, that pen and paper that they're doing. Variety, IoT, spreadsheets, paper forms, Power BI, operational systems. Versatility, low code preferred, team not code first only for AI ML. Oh, interesting. I don't know how they got to that. I would not say that. Real-time streaming, batch scheduled, mixed Lambda, data quality layered. Conversational AI, CO explicitly wants to chat with data that's high inference. Candidate task flow is an event medallion. So we want to have a medallion kind of it's almost lambda pattern here at the very bottom, where some of our data is coming in hot and then some of our data is cold, where we're just kind of doing it in batches and it's just there for retrieval, or maybe we kind of mix and match it kind of at a later, medallion enrichment phase. All this looks pretty good. Coverage here for the different items that we should have deployed. Did anyone guess event stream, event house, lake house, copy job, semantic model, data agent, maybe some reflex in the notebook? Was that what you architected too? Let me know in the chat.
How'd you
Is
know?
that all the items that you would have picked too? Go ahead, Kevin.
So how did you know?
I know. It's crazy, right? So does this capture work? Does this capture world accurately? The two highest signal items are a data agent, your CO's chatbot, an event stream, reflex, stop the refresh cycle with real-time push alerts. Yes, correct for the most part, but our team is largely a mix of SQL developers, Python users, and Excel analysts. So we're not afraid of code, and we're open to using AI in our development workflow. Cool. Doesn't always have to be perfect. It's okay to give feedback. Hey, here's where I think this would be very helpful. So I was going to make a few adjustments and might see if this all still holds up. So that changes the versatility of the recommendation I'm about to give. How versatile is your team? Again, I don't want to place you into a situation where like, here's a bunch of notebook. And you're like, I don't know how to write code. Cool. Let's keep you in a data flow. If that's where you're living, if that's where you're comfortable, low code kind of point and clicks. Awesome. So now it's writing our discovery brief here. So let's go ahead and take a look here. Our docs, discovery brief. All right. It's working on it, reading, filling it out. So again, this will just be a template that'll kind of be done for us. And there it is instantly. Let's go and take a look. Ignore that. That's just our business problem statement. 4 V's: volume, velocity, variety, versatility, mixed SQL devs, confidence high, user inferred. Here's our documentation, why we chose the architecture we did. Here where it says in the judgment calls, and then also maybe some things that we kind of had to rely on the user to kind of fill in. Looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and take a look here. This is the architecture that it's going to build out for us. So at the first layer of our cake, it's going to say the ingestion really needs to be some of the first items we want to get moving, because then we can move into storage of, hey, we need to deploy actual places to put our data. And then, of course, here for the processing, our KQL query sets, notebooks, semantic models. Come on, it's still responding. It's still working. It's still working. All right, let me do that for just a quick moment, and then I'm going to go back into kind of the presentation here. Because I'm showing you a lot already. This is crazy. Parts I don't enjoy. Part I don't enjoy about architecture is remembering every single item. I don't enjoy remembering if it was GA. I don't enjoy remembering if it was public preview. I don't enjoy if it was REST API, if it was ABFSS, what language it maintains. I don't enjoy any of that. And again, I apologize that no one has said this out loud before, but I think that's the thing we can just document once and collectively benefit from that. So a lot of what I did here, especially within the project, is I talk about deterministic processes and systems. Here's all the metadata about these items. Instead of going out and reading the docs and hoping, that every time I go out there and I just grab as much context as possible, I'm not a fan of context. Like when people are like, it's a million context window, it's like, yeah, but if there's junk context in there, then that's bad. So again, I love deterministic script running, right? Because if I run a Python script and I ask for these properties, I get them back. So in this example, I have fields. I've got display names, I've got availability, I've got phase orders. skill sets, API paths, CI/CD in terms of deployments. I've got connection protocols, TDS, APFSS, Livy, Custo, XMLA. I'll make this just a little bit larger here so people can see it. But once we get down to the meat and potatoes, like here is the item types. I have a lakehouse. It might have some weird aliases if people are typing things in. Its availability is a GA. It's a general availability product. It's a foundation, so this is used to store data. Lakehouses support both a low-code LC or a CF code first. Languages that are supported in the Lakehouse include Spark, Python, R, Scala, SQL, kind of read-only. So if I was typing in that business statement, right, and I said my team uses Python, I can deterministically say, all right, based on the query language, this is probably a great candidate, right? Alternatives, if I was doing comparison, Lakehouse or a warehouse, Lakehouse or an event house, Lakehouse or a SQL database or Cosmos DB. API path here, CI/CD, platform only, verified. Cool. Moving on to the next one, warehouse, GA, foundation, store, skill set. It kind of put it here as an LC, which is kind of funny to me, but hey, Jack, I see hand raised. What's going on?
So how does this registry document keep up to date with things moving so fast?
Yeah.
I could see that, you'd have to constantly revisit this.
Absolutely. So that's where, especially for me, this kind of being a community project where it's available on GitHub, if you see that something has been changed and I didn't catch it yet, just go out and make a pull request. And for me, like I want this to kind of be like a central spine where like anyone who's building other tools, like use this as part of your process to stand up around. Like if we can band around a common framework, like, oh my gosh, all of our tools benefit from this. But absolutely, Jack, like right now it is drift as things come in, as things get released. It's just, hey, go out and update this file. And of course, I have robots that go out in here and update it too. But I don't catch everything. I think there's probably a few releases just out of build that I need to go back and kind of do as well. Awesome. So again, event house, tons of different items here. If I was to go down, copy jobs, event streams, like it's well documented. C1 point, well documented. Mirrored warehouse, well documented. I don't like remembering what's GA and what's public preview. I don't like remembering what's supported by API. I don't like remembering what the different endpoint paths are. Do it once, let me benefit for it forever. All right, so we go back here. So here's our architecture for VoltIQ, event medallion, our ingestion, our storage, our processing, our serving. There's no blockers here, so we had our different skills that I have talked about lightly, but let me kind of collapse this here now. So as I talk about my system, what I'm really talking about is I've got my agent, right? So this is mission control that says, go execute these things in this order. We saw that deterministic path that I've kind of created. From here, I have my skills. So I've got my fabric design, I've got my deploy, I've got my unit tester to be like, is that thing that you suggested actually feasible? Can we actually deploy that? It goes, yes, we can. All these different things exist, so we can go ahead and do that. From there, I also have documentation, and so that way we kind of have an understanding of here was everything we did. We've got it documented why we made all these choices. But if we were to go into like the discovery phase, I got my skills. So when we talked about some of the scripts, problem statement, if the project name doesn't exist, go ahead and create it. So I have my projects up here now, my VoltIQ. So here at the very end of our conversation, you and me, I would just zip this up and say, here you go. Here's a zip file that you can go deploy in your own organization. All right, so let me go ahead and hit enter here. Ready to approve? Why this approach? What you'll be able to do, the moment a machine crosses the threshold without a single analyst hitting F5. Love it. Let your CEO ask how many outages last quarter in the North Korea in plain English. Replace the clipboard, mobile form submissions, land directly in the lakehouse. Answer, where did this number come from? One semantic model, one source of truth, full lineage, just like Stacy had asked for. I want to have lineage. I want to have a common place for all of our definitions. Ready. Let's go. All right, cool. We'll let it do its thing. I'll turn on YOLO mode so I don't have to monitor it. So YOLO is just, you only live once. It's just giving it auto approval to execute anything here that it's maybe needing to do. Cool. So back to,
Are you endorsing YOLO for production?
oh my gosh, I YOLO everything, but I'm not a good role model. So please don't take my advice. If you like reading all the different, do you approve, do you approve, do you approve, go ahead. I'm just Copilot, take the wheel. Just let it go.
And for the court transcript, I do not endorse YOLO in production.
Love that. So again, skills are just going through different processes, telling you what tools to run. So in this example, my signal mapper Python, it's just reading through that JSON file that we saw earlier. At this stage, have I been completed? At this stage, have I been completed? At this stage, have I been completed? If not, then it's just going to stay there because maybe I said something back where it's, hey, this is incorrect. You need to revise this. Cool. I can't advance to the next stage. So when we see some of that here, see if I can find run pipeline. So my pipeline, and then what we'll see here is advance. Yep. So my run pipeline, my advance flag. So I cannot advance to the next stage until I've completed that task. That's how I'm able to gate it, keep it on that deterministic path that I'm looking for. Cool. All right, let's go back to a quick presentation. Just let's build some stuff out real fast for us. All right. I don't want you to get like, this is so weird. It started out from a simple idea. Kind of on the phone with my colleague, Patrick. He was having to do a bunch of demos and kind of things for FabCon. He's like, oh, I've got to deploy all this stuff. And, I need to build all these different kind of architectures. And I go, I love task flows. I don't know how many people here use Fabric task flows out in the service, but I love them. It's an architecture diagram that currently does nothing. But I'm like, what if it could do something? And that's where I'm like so excited to be like, we took all the photos of all the different task flows that existed. I stuck them in a folder and I said, hey, robot, go make sense of all these. And it was able to extract out all the different item types that were supported within it each. And it was also able to flexibly design as requirements change. Kevin, go ahead.
Speaking of task flows, I'm going to go ahead and ask you live, when am I going to be able to deploy those through Git?
I know, right? I know. That's where I need more noise from out in the community. Like if this thing is valuable, I hope that everyone will be like, that's the task flow that I've always wanted. So that's, again, a lot of the excitement for me is like, I want to tell as many people about this thing as possible because I know it's valuable. Again, Fabric is hard, but I don't think it needs to be. If you had a system where you can just say, here's my business problem, cool. Now I know what to go build. I'm not spending weeks and months trying to learn things. I'm saying, awesome. Now I know what to go do. So again, many different architectures. It can build its own if it truly needs it, if there's something a little weird, wild. But a lot of things, and especially kind of design, a lot of them are just templates. We have our item registry, which we saw, and then we talk about our pipeline stages where it reads that file and says, can I proceed? Yes or no? Have I completed this task? Then we have our orchestrator. That's kind of our mission control. And then it reaches out to the different skills at the different stages based upon that skill that's needed, that skill set. All right, how the engine works, describe the business problem, review architecture and decisions, confirm the test plan. Again, the robot will do that for us just to make sure that everything is testable, that we're not just imagining a new item type that doesn't exist. From there, once we've given our approval, we're at the sign-off gate. We said, yes, everything there looks amazing. It's now building our deployment script. And then it's going to give us that final brief that says, hey, this is ready to go. So at the end of 5, 10, 15 minutes, you and me at the table together, what are we trying to solve? Here's a follow-up question. Here's a follow-up question. Here's a follow-up question. Awesome. Now we know what to go build. We're going to actually deploy that up into the service now. So we're not just imagining this in text blocks, but we're actually going to deploy this. So again, design pipeline here as we go through the discovery phase, it goes through the design phase of saying, based on all the information you gave me, I'm now going to go map this to an architectural design, a quick unit test plan to say, is the design architecture feasible? Yes or no? And then the sign off phase for the user would be. Deploy, validate, document. Enforced by the runner. There's not ad hoc prompting. Core architecture here, reproducible at scale. You should script it. If you're like, hey, this requires trade-offs, that's what the LLM is for. That context that you're providing. If you're like, hey, here are the squishy parts of the detail, here are the squishy discussion points that like, I can't put that in a if this then that. Like it doesn't fit. Let the LLM handle that. And then the parts that you're like, left or right, yes or no, that's what deterministic scripting is for. So this is really the boundary of your foundation. For everything you want to build, just figure out what do I want to do and can I turn this into a script? And then just have the kind of LLMs, the robots, have them execute the scripts. Those are their tools. So when I think about this, I think about an employee, right? Like if they were sitting down here at my desk, they need a laptop, they need a pen, they need a notebook. What are the tools that they need to be successful? For my different skills, they need scripts. They might need, reference architecture documents. So I guess they have scripts here. Let me see if anyone else. Fabric document, they have references. What should my documentation look like? Here's a template of what I always want you to produce. Cool, I now have a reference point. I'm not going to imagine it different every single time. I now have reproducible kind of assets. So let's go back here. We're getting so close. And I'm going to check on script because it's likely done. Awesome, it is. So Volt IQ, it's complete. We've got our full Microsoft Fabric architectural pipeline, utility company, real-time path, machine sensors, chat with the robot. Yes. All of our artifacts are done here now in our project. Suppose we go to our project, Volt IQ. I've got all of our docs. I've got our project brief. We work in a utility company. Here's what we built. Here's our task flow kind of validation. Here's our different checks. Here's our test plan to say, for unit testing, how much is 115 AI credits? I would say it's not a lot, especially here I'm on like 20,000, I think is like the $100 plan on GitHub. 115 would probably be like well within like a $10 plan, well within. So very, very small. And I'm sure I can come out here and find ways to optimize it even more with like the new crazy Fable stuff. Deployment handouts, discovery brief, all of this is well documented, way better than I would have ever done from like sitting there. My favorite part here though is I have this building out a Fabric CI/CD. So if anyone has used that before, the Python deployment, it's building out the full YAML. So now here are all the items. I'm going to read through this file and then I'm going to start deploying them. So I've got my deploy Volt IQ script, and this will start building our actual project. So let's go ahead and just copy this, copy path. I'll go ahead and start a new window here for us. CD, and again, these commands don't mean anything. They're just change directory, C:/git, task flows. Awesome. And then let me do this. Python. Here we go. Awesome. All right. Do I want to do a single workspace? So just one workspace right here, right now. Or I could do a full multi-environment. So I could deploy it to 3 different stages right now. So I could have dev, kind of my test, and then prod, all from this single solution. For the purposes of the demo, I'm doing one single workspace. All right. It's going to go through that. It's going to say I've been authenticated. Do we want to keep the workspace name Volt IQ? Absolutely. I'm just going to go ahead and press enter. It's not been created yet. Should I create it? Yeah, absolutely. Do it now. I don't want more bugs. It's going to ask What capacity I want to use here at Microsoft? I'm going to use the one that says don't touch. So I'm going to go ahead and select number 1. Cool. And it's now deploying my solution. We went from sitting down, not knowing anything about Fabric, not knowing any of the words, not knowing any of the terms, not knowing API endpoints, to now having a full deployment of our solution. Kevin, keep me on check here. I don't know how much time it's been, but I think we're at like 40 minutes or less, kind of when I took over.
42 minutes.
42 minutes. Aman, what's going on?
I mean, like, mind blown. This is fantastic. It seems like, you can get to a minimum viable product really quickly, right? And then there's iteration, which you have without AI, right? So is there any differences you've seen besides the fact that you can get to the MVP lightning fast in the iteration part with this kind of setup versus like before you had AI?
So before AI, that's interesting.
Well, I don't know if you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
what is different about iterating? Because here now, when you iterate, you're just going to use language again. Like your
Yep.
iteration is going to be more customer language.
Yeah.
And have you been using this like in environments and it works?
It does work.
Okay.
A lot of this was inspired by sitting down with a kind of customer through like a Microsoft Technology Center engagement, where a lot of that is just sitting there for 2 or 3 days. What is your business problem? Over the first 4 hours, we're still in the like discovery phase, and they're imagining what it is in their head. They can't actually see it, and that's the big issue for me. It's like, well, what if you could see it? What if it was right there? And we're not imagining, but we're actually starting to move into kind of placing the different pieces. So my first scenario here, of course, that I tested was like, hey, everything that was said in there, I'm not typing in names or anything like that. It's just the vagueness of the scenario. But could I end up with the same architecture? Wow, I did. Actually, there was a couple of recommendations that I probably missed. So that was like my first point of proof. The other thing that I kind of enjoy with systems is also, if anyone here plays video games, self-healing is kind of a fun little concept there. So I have a healer whose job it is to just create a bunch of random problem statements and then test my system and see, of those problems, how many of those do I get right? So I say create 25 random problems, create a batch of 5 of those, and I have 5 times 25, 100, and I don't know, 25. At that point, it's just building its knowledge source even bigger and better. So of course, this thing is somewhat of a beast now, but in that same respect, it's like new items get introduced, architectures may change. I just try and keep up with it as best as I can. But Aman, I totally agree. Like, there's some weirdness in this system, and that's why I love having these discussions out in the community. Like, well, where could we go with this? Awesome. It's been fully deployed. I'm going to go ahead and copy this. Hopefully it opens up in the correct window. It will. Awesome. Hopefully I'm the right one. Yep. No sign in check. It's taking me to our workspace. Come on, Fabric. Come on. Loading. Introducing task flows. You don't have to tell me about task flows. I love them. I just wish that they were as cool as this demo that Alex is doing. Awesome. So we've got Volt IQ. I've got analytics. I've got my configs. I've got my ingestion. I've got my processing storage. We're going to storage. Awesome. I've got a lakehouse required by capability mapper, not an event medallion. Event house, time series streaming store for KQL databases. Interesting. So I've actually documented a lot of this workspace already too. I never document my projects, I'll be honest with you. But it's starting to fill that in for me in all the different item types. So how could I make this even more robust? Required by capability mapper, not an event medallion. Interesting. Notebook. I don't know why it keeps defaulting that. KQL-based data expiration for transformations. Again, some of these aren't meaningful. The models change. I need to come out and update, the underlying reasoning and prompts. But having all this self-documented, having everything deployed, and then let's go to importing a task flow. And then I'm going to choose my task flows. task flows. I'm going to choose my projects because that's where I store everything. I'm going to choose Vault IQ. I'm going to choose my deployment, and then my task flow up here. Interesting. So that's everything we built. Notebooks, lakehouse, copy job. Some of these things didn't, it didn't map to what I would expect. So it's okay to have a little bit of imperfection. But this is everything we did. And when I look at like a configuration of my variable library, I went ahead and I mapped everything for you already too. So you are CI/CD ready because I've inserted as much as humanly possible as I could. If you wanted to do that 3-stage deployment, I would have all these mapped for you across the 3 different stages. Let's go back. All right, let's come back down to reality. Whew, this is a lot. Script it. Why registry?
So
Without
Alex,
registry, go ahead, Steve.
quick question. Did it actually create the agent for the CEO too?
Let's go take a look. Let's go ahead and take a look. It likely did. So let's go to Vault IQ. It's probably, if not analytics, I don't know. There would be ingestion, processing. Nope, I didn't see an agent. So maybe the agent doesn't have the API yet. So maybe that was a kind of a gap, Stacy. I love that you called that out, though.
I'm always here for you, man.
I appreciate it. It's job security for me. This is amazing. So now I'll have it go look at the docs. I'll see if data agent, Fabric, REST API. I love this. Calling Fabric data and REST API and create data agent. Cool.
Alex, quick question here.
Please.
Yeah, so this deployment code is all in the GitHub, right? This would
That's correct.
Or what is the deployment pipeline?
Yeah. So when we talk about the code itself, what I want you to think about is a scenario where let's go and do this. SaaS flows. I've got a project. You and me have sat down, one customer, one department, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. I could sit down with you and we talk it out. And at the very end, I say, go ahead and zip this up. Now send it right over to you. And you can run it right in your environment. You don't need any AI. You don't need anything. The benefit here is the script itself, which is going to be the CI/CD YAML. So Fabric CI/CD. If I was kind of jump out here, this is the Fabric CI/CD format. And then I'm just giving you a code to execute right here to read that file and then build everything for you.
Okay. So my other question is like when we do the deployment, right, from dev, test to prod deployment pipeline, so that also can be done with this MCP or?
None of this is an MCP. So don't think of it in terms of that way. This is just an agentic system reading and executing a bunch of different scripts. What I would say in that scenario, though, in terms of like multi-stage deployment, is we're not using deployment pipelines. Everything is being used and done through Fabric CI/CD. So if I was to go out here, Fabric CI/CD, Python library. And I am just a tremendous fan of this because really great community support, developer support, and then also it's just execution as code. I know deployment pipelines in terms of the service themselves, some of the UI I think people are frustrated with. Otherwise, it'd be like doing Azure DevOps kind of actions. So other people on this call may have more experience there, but I try and stick with the Python package here myself.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. But yep, I'd be able to zip this up, send it to you right now, and you'd be able to execute it in your environment. So you and me have the discussion. Here you go. Let's deploy in your environment. Start filling it up. What's your connection strings? What's your databases? What's the tables? I can kind of talk about that in just a moment here, but I want to get back to kind of Jack's funny question earlier of like, hey, things change. I'm going to go to item type registry. And I'm going to say There's a data agent. Data agent. Here we go. All right. So there's the data agent API now. Creation loaded up. There we go. So we'll let it kind of add that to the file registry. Yeah, and I don't know if there's anything else up here, but everything deployed, everything available. We're not just imagining it. We could actually talk about it. I can start snapping these things together too, like, hey, a notebook. It's the lake house, copy job in the lake house. None of these things are that difficult. It's just rule-based logic. Before I can do this thing, I need to do that thing. I need to have storage, then that way I can write to it. So my copy job needs to have some place to have this things land. The parts that are very interesting for me as I kind of look forward on this project and why I kind of also hope to make noise, with different folks, is that for me, metadata backbone, we're getting the same results. If I put in another scenario, we're going to go through the exact same process. Hey, here's discovery. Here's the 4 Vs. Here's what your architecture is going to look like. Here's the deployment scripts. I know what to expect every time. Yes, there might be some changes here as the product changes, but at least this process, I know what's going to do. The metadata backbone, again, my registries. I've got schemas here. So when I think about those APIs, I don't want to have to go out and read the documentation every time. Just tell me the fields. For the payload, the post response, here are 4 different properties you need to fill in. Here's another thing that needs to be converted, whatever it is. Just have that out here so then that way I can have scripting read through it. And then a lot of my templates, just how do I want this to kind of look? AI skills still need deterministic tools. A prompt alone cannot guarantee repeatability. I want to do this demo over and over and over again. I want to have the sit down with you and I want to know what I'm going to get at the very end. I want to have that deployment script based on our discussion, all the things that we talked about. So that way we're not imagining the whiteboard, we're building it. Now we just need to plug in our stuff. So pre-compute, signal mapper, I kind of look through signals and inference based on the problem statements. I start deconstructing all of your sentences to be like, hey, they said real time. It probably means this thing. They said spreadsheets. They said storage. It probably means these things. They said, SQL-based or Python-based. Again, it's ripping those things apart, looking through our item registry to say they said SQL, they said Python. What items match those different types? Decision resolver here, just for when it goes through that battle of the architecture, which things went out in terms of that confidence and scoring. Diagram generation, just to show us that fun photo of the different stages. Again, a lot of these are just tools. I don't leave things up to chance. And then kind of that state control and governance, we're just running through that execution. Have I completed this task successfully? Yes, no. Have I completed it? Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. As it kind of moves up and down. Human approval gate, where we said, this is what I want, or this is not what I want, and you're completely wrong. I think I give it 3 different iterations before I just reject it and say, just let's start over. Let's start out with a better problem statement where we can kind of fill this out a little bit more. If it was 1 or 2 words, not a lot to kind of build on. So definitely kind of a good pushback there. We saw it. Utility company need faster reporting. You're like, Alex, you keep using this scenario. I know, because no one gives me better ones. I keep yelling, call and response, but everyone's so quiet. Architecture recommendations, discovery design, test plan sign off. We made sure things could actually be deployed, deployment validation, but teams get value trade-offs from repeatability. Faster time to architecture, fewer inconsistent architecture decisions. What if we just started from a 5-minute conversation and asked us a few follow-ups? We then get back, here is what I would build. We went from fabric is hard to, nope, now we know what to do. Didn't have to read the docs, didn't have to spend months and months searching for GA, the right APIs to call. It did everything for us. Now we're just building. Now we're focusing on our business as opposed to the fabric docs or the fabric videos that we have to go watch to hopefully get to that day 1 architecture that would actually meaningfully help us in our business. For me, there's no reason why you couldn't go from 30 minutes in a meeting to the very end of your day. You've got everything stitched up in the workspace, and then you just start filling it in. Let's go after our tables. Let's go after our connection strings. which brings me to a point here, especially when I think about this. I think about this YAML file. What is stopping me from creating another file that says, put in your connection string, put in the tables that you want to have ingested, and then I'll go ahead and build out that copy job for you. The exact connection and all of the tables predefined. Why couldn't I just build the entire project for you? Instead of going from 5 minutes and here's an empty shell to, hey, here's 15 minutes. We filled in a couple of these fields. And then at the very end, we built your entire project.
Wouldn't you really just make that copy job set to the variable library, and then you would actually put that connection string in the variable library, right?
Yeah, absolutely. For those moments, Kevin, anything that I can put in that variable library, let's go for it. And then it's really just down to the item level support of, can I reference that? Those are the things where I'm like, I think this could be a cool project. I just need to know if the community would be interested in it. For me, the parts where I'm like, I'm very sensitive. I don't want you to have to like, here's my connection details in the LLM. You store it here in a file. And then from there, it's just a Python script that goes and reads that file and says, based on these properties and these fields, I'm going to go and inject this in the REST API. So that way you don't have to worry about passing in sensitive information to an LLM. It's here, stored in a file. It could be that easy. That's where I'm very idealistic of how far do we want to take this as a community. So when we talk about this,
Let me ask a question to see
please.
if I could run down that path. So this is like, because you do a lot of greenfield with people that you talk to, right? And so this seems like it comes from a very greenfield approach. You don't have a workspace out there, right? But there's a bunch of us that work in environments that we inherit something from somebody else.
Yep.
That's a mess, like the one I'm working on now. That's supposed to run on an F64 and it consumes almost all of a 128. Any thoughts of taking something like this and then like bringing down a workspace or multiple workspaces and going, help me analyze it more, help me figure, because like you have different things here of saying this would be good in this situation, and
Yep.
Is that a possibility to go to it?
Absolutely. So that was something that another person had asked where they're like, I have a starting point. What I really want you to do is reverse engineer and get me the CI/CD files, give me all the deployments here, so that way I can bring it back down, have all the definitions, and then start fixing it up. I don't see any reason why I can't go in that order either. Instead of a blank canvas, here's where you're at. Let me reverse engineer you into the system, and then applying best practices or recommendations, etc. And then let's rebuild it in kind of a better format, based upon findings or other things. That would be an interesting idea for me, Kevin.
Yeah.
I appreciate that you've kind of brought it up too, of like, hey, here's some signal.
It's my day-to-day life right now. So
so just again, the start of this meeting wasn't like, hey, everything I'm doing is right, I'm the expert in AI. Not at all. What I learned throughout all this is getting to repeatable processes through deterministic systems. So all of us who kind of work within data, we all logically have some type of system that we're working through. When this thing happens, I do that. For this, we do this other option, making those choices. And then as I start thinking about that, all right, I need this kind of registry system. So, think of like a phone book, right? It's a registry of information. I have a registry that is all the information about all the items that exist in Fabric. Cool. I'm going to really invest in that a lot. And then as more things came in focus, again, the original idea was just taking snapshots of the task flows that exist out in the workspace and then saying, dump them into I just took screenshots of all these and I dumped them into a folder and I said, turn this into a robot. And I was like, all right, cool. And I was like, whoa, I had no idea you were actually going to get this close. Then as one idea turned to the next, a lot of the things that I kept hitting my, head against the wall on was like, why is it not doing the same thing that I'm looking for? 1 + 1, way better in a script than as opposed to an LLM where it's like, that's 3. It's like, no, it's not. It's like, you're right. It's not. It's 4. And it's like, oh my God, why are we having this wasted token battle? So find ways to build a system. The squishy parts, where it's like, I really need an LLM to go through this vague sentence and really kind of infer these details and expand out that problem statement. That's great for an LLM. It's terrible for a script. In that scenario, a script would have to, if this, then that, case statements forever, right? It would have to strip every line, do regex just to try in those 1 or 2 nuggets. LLMs love that. They love the weird verbose or squishy text. Then that way they can kind of explode it. The human gate and approval processes that I wanted to have throughout, I wanted you to control this thing. If what it shot back to you every single time was, here's the script, and you go, but I missed 1 or 2 of those details, that wouldn't be fun either. So here's the gate, here's your approval process, here's the questions I'm asking, here's the project name. If we were to kind of reverse all the way back to the beginning, I want to have that discussion with the user as if I was sitting there at the table with you. Then narrative artifacts are as important as the deployment scripts. So why we chose those items, again, that goes back into the documentation. So when I go through kind of discovery brief, I have my inferred signals, why it fits. So if I was to go through this discovery brief, let's do this. Signal value confidence source, why I chose the thing that I did. Real-time sensors, score of 8 out of 10. Medallion batch only misses sensor in real time. So it's a very low confidence score. Some of the architectural judgment calls that we made, confirmations with the user, I have this well documented, so I can come back to this and read it as a human and say, all right, here's why I can see why the system kind of chose why it did. And I have it all recorded. My problem statement here at the very top, we were getting antiquated pen and paper. It's things I can look back on. All right, let's go back to the presentation here. I think we're getting so close. Then Kevin, keep me honest here on timings. I think we have a little bit of time here at the end, but I want to keep it open for discussion. And hopefully everyone's enjoying the crazy MARP. All right, what items to get? Trade-offs accepted. Some of the trade-offs, especially as I was building the system, I had to find repeatable processes. So it wasn't just, here's a large LLM file of script or skill.md or agent files. Again, I'm not a fan of large verbose instructions or text because that introduces confusion, contradiction, any of those things where it allows too much flexibility for the model to kind of deviate from what I was hoping for. Slim it down. If you can't get it slimmed down, can it fit into a script? Just finding those ways. The maintenance discipline of the registry. Jack already called out. He's like, hey, items are getting released all the time. What happens? You're right. Stacy's like, where's the data agent? You're right. So I'm having it go through. I'm having it do some of that maintenance here. But again, if it was a part of the community, if we all said, these are the types of things that we should band around and build our solutions around, oh my goodness, all of us would have way better tools, way better outcomes. And then I do allow some flexibility just because, again, I have no idea what you're going to type in. Maybe you're typing in lakehouse and data agent and translytical tasks, so you're speaking in the language of Fabric. That's great, but that's not the problem that I was solving. Fabric is hard. I don't think it should be. I think your business problem is the only thing we should be concentrating on. At the very end, here's your business problem mapped to Fabric. And it makes sense because these trade-offs, these documented reasons, here's why I did this thing. So again, I really want that consistency over the improv. We saw the demo, we deployed our artifact, deterministic metadata, love it, adoption checklist for your team. Just as you go through projects, where can you find determinism in the system that you're building versus, here's a bunch of files I downloaded online and I hope they work. I don't think that works. I think that AI development is highly personal and it's very local to departments or teams, especially when you're getting to a point of like wanting to share skills across different individuals because your standards may be wildly different than someone else's. I think it's always great to be like, is this thing serving us value? If not, what does it take to get it to that point? So don't just blindly copy things down. Like if you use my repository, give it a shot. Try it with one of your scenarios. And then just trying to move more and more things into kind of registries and kind of this phase progression. So this mission control is the name of the title. I'll try and paste a link out to some of the GitHub articles on that, but it's really just having a way to centrally move my system and communicate back to kind of, NASA, kind of as a mission control example. In closing, truly, I do think it's all of our responsibility. So when you see someone sharing something weird on LinkedIn, you're like, oh, why are they talking about that? It's because we're honestly in a weird, unique space right now. Nobody knows what this thing can or cannot do. But I think it's all our responsibility to say, here's value that I found. Here's something that I tried. It didn't work. Here was a lesson I learned. Here was something I carried forward 5 minutes today because it brought me value. For some people, it's as simple as, hey, it read my Teams meetings or it read my emails. For others, it's like, no, I built a full-on architectural system that I could sit down and deploy an entire solution in 5 minutes. Wow, that's cool. But I don't know that that's everybody's win getting to this point. For me, this is a fun example. Again, I still have thoughts in my mind of where I would like this to go. But to be honest with you, I need the feedback. Kevin's giving me a little bit of signal. I've heard this from 2 people now. Be like, it'd be great if I could start from what exists and kind of pull this down in the system. Right? If I've heard it twice now, that's pretty good signal. For me, I'm like, it'd be great if I could just fill in all the tables and values for you and build the entire semantic model, because I have all your ingestion data, all the tables, I've got all the columns, I've got everything that needs to feed in the next layer of the cake. Like, why couldn't I do that? That would be a fun project.
I think that's going to be a lot of it too, right? Is, like we're writing a lot of, spec documents or PRDs, right? Product requirement documents, and even getting to the point of saying, hey, here's the measures we think in the model and stuff like that, right? So taking in, besides the prompt, even bigger documents that come in, and then use this as a tool to what to push out. So
yeah.
But honestly, I just spent the last 10 minutes looking up MARP because that just blew me away too.
Yeah, if you go to your VS Code extensions, you type in MARP, it's pretty fun. Markdown as presentation. And then again, I think everyone's kind of getting in this weird world of how much value and enjoyment does building a PowerPoint bring you? If it's not a lot, just have it read your document repository or something and say, build me a presentation. And then you could also stylize it too with your brand colors. So there is CSS properties and other things. So just build a full-on MARP deck. Kevin, what's going on?
Hey, Alex, have you given any thought to expanding this architecturally beyond workspaces and maybe getting into, hey, let's think through, do I want to separate compute from capacity 1 to capacity 2 so that I can always, reduce the noisy neighbor type issues as much as I can, or if I give it, working in a decentralized organization where you actually want to have domains and subdomains and possibly do some chargebacks.
So not just one workspace, but multiple, kind of setting up a massive tenant-wide infrastructure.
Yeah, just sort of ambition. Hey, I want to have, I don't know, a marketing domain, and maybe marketing is so massive that they require their own capacity because they keep stepping on everybody else, right? And so around maybe possibly performance suggestions, if not deploying the capacities themselves.
Yeah, so definitely being able to deploy the capacities, using some of the REST APIs out to Azure. I use Azure CLI, so that type of thing, sure. I could create the capacity for you. I could do the sizing. It's an interesting scenario for me, and it's not one that I necessarily designed this for. So I'm always like, how could we do that effectively? Is it during the discovery phase where I kind of get data volumes and I would suggest a capacity size to be like, hey, let me spin up a F2048 and get the most expensive one on the credit card? I don't want to do that, right? So that's where human in the loop, hey, you choose the thing that you want to do. You choose the areas that you want to deploy. I'm trying to have you as the driver. There's no reason I couldn't have it be fully automated.
Yeah. No, definitely. I would think during the discovery, if you're going truly greenfield,
Yep.
Let's bring you into Fabric. So I think that could be one play. Another play is that the scenario that most people are going to live in is Fabric is already here, but maybe having this same type of solutions like, hey, help me right size my Fabric environment. Let me do some of the min-maxing, right?
Yeah. So it would be interesting, maybe on data volume, that would kind of want to suggest that, or some of the different item types that are recommended. Yeah, let me think on that as a project, and what that would take. Because I know we have like the Fabric capacity estimator. So maybe that could be like a little bit of knowledge that I kind of bake into this. Like, hey, could you provide recommendations of like, for this type of system, for this type of data volume, for these type of items, maybe start with a, F32 or something. I don't know. That's just an example. Would that
Yeah.
help?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the estimator has, or the calculator rather, has a reputation for overestimating too, but it's something. It's a good start. But yeah, even if you're looking at, I don't know, a live system, analyze the capacity metrics app, and from that be able to say, hey, insight, 90% of the time over the last 30 days, you've been at 35% utilization and you haven't bursted once. Perhaps you can go down to the previous SKU and, this is what we estimate it might look like. Something, I don't know. I'm just
Yeah.
getting creative now and don't know how to
I love it.
implement
I
any
love
of
it.
that
I love it. So I'd be like, Kevin, I think we've introduced scope creep.
stuff. Yes.
So at least here, the problem that I solved is you and me are at a table and we want to build something.
Yep.
That's it.
Right.
Who's
And
going to
and
pay
I'm
for
sure
it and what they need to pay for? I don't know, man. Like those are great questions, but I at least want to draw the scribbles and put this in your environment and you have an empty shell. That was the basis of mine, but I like some of the ideas. I'm just like, man, I don't even know how we would go about executing that. Like,
Well, and I think along with what KP's bringing up, right? Some of the thought, because I was going to ask you to put this in the prompt earlier, but I thought it would have been too much.
oh, what is it?
All this I want to run on an F2 capacity, right? But I mean, as a joke, that's what I would have. But try to
Yeah.
also like as this is coming up, think, can it somehow think of, like you would never put a real time on an F2, right? And so maybe it could even help with some other inputs or something to it, maybe some other Python or grabbing some of the things from the capacity screens, as it's building out the solution, maybe say you should fit in this range or something.
Square payment data and bar chart. This is always my favorite example. We'll let it kind of do its work.
Yeah. And so, Alex, also while that's running, I'm sure everybody's asking themselves this question. Maybe they asked it while I blue screened. I'm not sure, but if I want to build something like this, how do I get started?
Yes. So especially with this, at the very beginning, the kind of call here, like I used GitHub Copilot. So if you've not seen this as of yet, drop this. Oh my gosh, get out of here. GitHub Copilot CLI. Where's the good website? Oh my gosh, what is going on here? It started with GitHub Copilot CLI. There's just a really great landing page.
That's a little different install, right? Than just even if you have Copilot inside Visual Studio Code.
Yeah, so that's where at least the installer here, quick starts. It should be as simple as running a command. I don't know why they've made it so difficult. Windows Terminal settings. I'll drop they have a way better marketing screen. Here we go, GitHub Copilot for beginners. This is a good repo. Like you come out here, you run a single line in your terminal, and then from there, all you do is type in Copilot in any directory that you're in to kind of launch that as a project. You can do it through kind of a VS Code as well. If you're like, hey, I'm more of a visual, I want to see the Object Explorer, and then I want to also chat with kind of the data here. So on the right hand side, I could go through It's asking permission, allow all. Again, I'm a YOLO. I just let it all, let Copilot do anything it wants. So in these examples, you could certainly do it through VS Code. It's a lot more points and clicks. So if you wanted to change, if you wanted to select the agent right here natively, if you wanted to change like the different objects it has access to, like different MCPs, like this has way too much access. I need to scale this thing down. Stop, watch the context windows. Again, for me, I'm not a context fan because if the window's too big and it's too bloated, garbage in, garbage out. So I want to keep my context thin. I want to keep my instructions very thin. I want to keep as much as possible in deterministic scripting. So in that way it's limited. And then the return results of like that Python, when you think of like a return line, is it a simple, 1 or 2 sentences? Is it a massive output that the bot needs to read? Really thinking about your kind of token management. So that's setting context. Awesome. Let's do it. What I changed, added data agents, create API, updated version 7.7. Awesome. So our registry is now updated. I'll push that into GitHub whenever I get done. But a lot of these, just go out here and spin it up. I don't think it needs to be as difficult. And if you're like, I don't know how to build this, just pass those instructions in your robot. Say, go read this document. Go read this document. Go read this document and figure out how to build agents, skills, and everything else that's wild in this new world. So it could be as simple as just telling the agent to go out and read instructions on how to set up a system. Whenever you get into it a little bit more, you'll start understanding the different kind of layout here. So with GitHub Copilot, it'll be a .gib folder, and it'll be a agents folder, agent.md file, and then your skills. It'll be the name of the skill as a folder. Then you'll have skill.md. So skill.md, skill.md, skill.md. Again, a lot of this is just well documented. You can go out and read it and commit it to memory of how to do it yourself, or you can have the agent do it. I don't want it to feel like a daunting task, Kevin, for sure. Start with the bot.
And Alex, I'm sure that it's gone through at least someone's mind. Okay, cool. I get started with this. I'm starting to put my skills together. From experience, I realize, hey, I'm not getting deterministic results. I want to start doing some of the scripting. How do I iterate through that? Because I have no skills in coding. Oh,
for sure. You don't have to write the scripts yourself either. So don't feel like you have to go out in here and write it. A lot of this is going to be like when you're starting to look at some of these files and it's like you're very explicit in its instructions. Like, some of these I just say, hey, here's the code you need to go run, and it'll go out and build that Python script for me. And then like a general task that I might give it is, you need to have tools to execute your process, or you need to have determinism within some of your prompts. It's great if you know exactly what you want to write and exactly what you're going to do, but I would not worry about that. A lot of this code is not for human consumption. This is a bot's code. It only makes sense to the robots. There's a couple projects that I'd probably like right now. I'm probably going to go back and rewrite them by hand myself, just because I think it over-engineered things. But any of this out here, like I would never spend any time optimizing this. This is a bot. This is a bot's way of working. If a new model comes out tomorrow and it efficiently writes code better, I'm going to change my model. So I might go down here to my model selector. Nope. Model selector, and I'm like, all right, let's go find Fable, or let's go find Opus 4.8. As you start learning about different models, you'll see that some are better than others. Like Codex is really great in terms of like kind of like community sentiment right now in terms of like actually writing great code. Some of the Claude Opus models are more general purpose. They can do a lot of things pretty well, and then some things that are just like way too verbose about. So really pushing back on your agent system. And I always like to audit it kind of like once a week, or kind of once an evening, especially during like a really hot kind of development cycle, to say, go find contradiction, go find verboseness. You'll get to the point where you'll also have different skills. So you don't need, man, Kevin, we're just going down a rabbit hole. I mean, I apologize. Copilot, awesome Copilot. I love this though. Awesome Copilot is a repository of different community skills that have been built. So people have already done this for you. You can just come out here and clone this, and you'll have all these great things at your disposal. Another one that I kind of enjoy is Superpowers. This one's very popular, 249,000 stars. This is for agentic skills framework and software development, where you can just come out here and you can import this as a plugin, and then it's available as a global pack across all of your projects. So if I was to go down here, let's go and cancel out of this, canceling. Man, Kevin, I apologize. I'm just going down a rabbit hole now. You've gotten me opened up. So I can reference superpowers here just through my / commands. I can have it do a code review and give it feedback, bugs, test driven development, any other crazy fun things. Just out here. Community just giving them
Here, I
one.
thought it was your own creation.
Not superpowers. I wish. 249,000 stars. Good on them. Obra superpowers. Yeah. And then Fabric Skills is another one too recently. Fabric Skills. So you haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of a big one that the engineering team has been putting out. What else? Head is spinning. My head is spinning right now.
Come on, guys. Feel free to ask questions. That's what we have Alex here for. And Alex, don't feel bad about going down the rabbit trail because people aren't dropping. They're interested.
Cool. I can just watch the movie trailer.
So
again if
I gotta drop to get you to be quiet.
No,
Thank you,
I hope
Kevin.
hopefully tonight was hopefully it was interesting. If you showed up and you're like, I'm not really sure what I'm gonna go watch about task flows. Again, I'm a big fan of them, and I hope the possibility of what they could be. Right now, they're out in the workspace and they just annoy you, and you're like, why is this window taking up half the screen? Why can't I collapse this? Why can't I do this? Like, I don't even know why I can't expand it to the full screen. Like, that's weird to me. You kind of think it's a deployment pipeline, but it's not. You're like, oh, is this like how I execute my data ingestion? No, but it kind of looks like it. Why doesn't it do anything? Like, there's so many weird things that this thing could be amazing. Why can't it deploy it through REST API? Like, why couldn't my agent deploy the diagram? Why did I have to do it manually? If there was enough noise, like, why couldn't we just start on a blank screen, like going to, everyone's favorite search engine, Bing? Why couldn't I just start here? What's your problem statement? Utility company, do this thing, and then Fabric just deploys it from a search bar. That would be cool.
Interesting.
That would be cool. All right, let me stop sharing. Kevin, I'll defer the floor back to you. I think we're approaching time here, but just want to say thank you so much, everyone, for allowing me to take on a little bit of a weird, wild journey here with what I built, and hope you had a little bit of fun. Mike, good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, and sorry, I wasn't joking when I said I blue screened there for a minute during your presentation, but I'm pulling this up again because I usually like to share the session feedback QR code so that people can leave their positive feedback for your session. So
I wrote my
real
message
quick, I'm
wrong. I
sharing
thought
that here on my screen. Yeah, no, it wasn't that one. It was me. But hopefully the recording is complete. And yeah, I really appreciate you coming on here, Alex, and showing us how you built this and giving us some good examples on how to use it.
All right.
Amazing. Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead
Thanks,
and stop
everyone.
the
Thank you.
recording.
Thank you.